Hello there, this is Alan English, actor, writer, and autism trainer. This is another Asperger syndrome tutorial, and as you will have noticed, I am off camera for this one. The title of this tutorial is an Asperger syndrome, a sibling's perspective. And on camera here is my sister Yvonne, who will be just giving us a couple of insights into what it was like, growing up with someone on the autistic spectrum, someone with Asperger's syndrome. So, yeah, please introduce yourself for camera, please, Yvonne.
Okay, so as Alan said, my name is Yvonne. I'm Alan's little sister of 2.5 years. Yes.
Okay, now, it's just going to be a couple of questions here, Yvonne. Now, just describe, as best you can, what it was like growing up with someone on the autistic spectrum.
You would probably have the best memories from our earlier years because naturally you are the elder sibling. So as youngsters, as very young children, I can't really give any indication that it was any different to normal childhood. I think we, like most siblings, had our moments, but for the most part, and I think that's something that probably has threaded throughout our entire lives, we've always gotten on pretty well together. So yeah, I would say that in the earlier days, you wouldn't have, and being so young as well, wouldn't have made any differentiation to any other brother sister, typical relationship.
Okay. Now, when did you first notice something was different about myself, in our upbringing? When did it first become apparent that, no, your older brother isn't quote-unquote normal?
When did it first become apparent? I don't know. I think if you recall when we were younger, and this is very typical, I think, of the younger sibling, I was always very keen to hang out with you and your pals. And I think at that age, and we're probably talking below 10 years old, for me at least anyway, there began to become some parts of the sort of friendship group that I realised weren't quite the same as my own friendship group, and that's because there were a couple of characters probably within that group that maybe did treat you a little bit differently to others. So that was probably the first point of realising there may be something different.
Okay. Now, were you affected by me or by the knowledge of my condition at school? How did people treat you knowing me, or how did you describe our kind of school experience, together? So.
Primary school, honestly, I have very little recollection of that whatsoever. I think the sort of stronger memories were when we were a little bit older and in Harlaw and the secondary school. How did it affect me? I don't think that I was treated any differently. I would say that I was called Ingy's sister by a lot of people that were in your year, although I don't think that had much of anything to do with you having Asperger's. I think that was just your nickname. There were times, of course, when things would crop up, and it would, in any sort of secondary school age groups, you will have characters that aren't as kind and in nature as others. And I think, because of your condition, which wasn't diagnosed at that point, it did sort of lead to you sometimes being the subject of their attention, if you like. And that was probably the part where I did feel slightly impacted. And I say slightly impacted because, I could see at times it was happening. I felt quite defensive, quite angry, and protective of you, but at the same time, I am your younger sibling, was probably trying to find my own place in the world of high school at that time as well. But yeah, I would say it didn't really massively impact me personally, but I could see that you were having a different journey, I would say, in secondary school, which did affect me.
Okay. Now, how has this evolved over time as we've grown into adults?
How's it evolved? I think Yeah, secondary school, as I said, was a. I mean, it's a bit of a strange time for many kids, isn't it? And as you become adults, you have a different, or your relationship changes with your sibling, doesn't it? And ours has as well. I think we've grown a lot closer. Although again, I would say that we've never had a point in our lives where we haven't been close. But I would say we certainly have grown closer as we become adults. The reason for that being is that we live very different lives. We are very different people, but we have a good understanding of who the other one is, and I think that's still a very positive thing in both of our lives.
Have you, been? I mean, I know being kind of you being your sibling. I mean, I've been affected by some of what has happened in your life. I mean, I've seen what's happened in your life. I mean, your particular times, in life when you've had difficulties, and I've felt angry and very protective of you. I could list times, but sometimes you were I think you were in a difficult relationship at one point, if I say, and I felt kind of protective of you then. Were there any kind of similar moments, for you, vis-a-vis myself? So
I think there's been countless times, over our lives where I've felt like that. And to be honest, actually, especially since we've been adults, especially since I would say you've been in London as well, and you've created your own life for yourself, I find that I almost feel protective of you before anything's happened, and then realise after you manage the situation entirely, perfectly well, that I probably had no reason to feel as protective or nervous about the certain situations that I've maybe thought that you may have struggled with and you haven't. However, we both know that you have had other times in your life where you have had challenges, and I think we would both agree, hopefully, that quite often once we talk it through, the challenges are in yourself. They're quite often not being caused by other people, and that's been a realization for me that we can worry a lot about what other people will react like in any situation, but ultimately it's for ourselves. It's for you, for me to kind of figure through ourselves. I think I answered the question. Maybe I elaborated a little bit too much there.
it's fine, Yvonne. I just what would you say is the hardest part about being a sibling of someone with Asperger's syndrome?
I think the hardest part is definitely knowing that you do feel at times quite a lot of hurt, and you do feel quite a lot, maybe hurt's not the right word actually, but you do have a lot of self-doubt, I would say, Alan, and from my perspective, um, I don't feel like you should have it. I think you should be everything. You should feel confidence, and you should feel good about your life and your achievements, and it's quite difficult to kind of listen to you sometimes when you are having moments of self-doubt, and they're not all that regular, but they do happen, and they happen to all of us. But I think in particular for you, because of how far you've come since we were kids and since we were teenagers, and all the challenges that you have overcome, it's difficult to hear you still have those moments of self-doubt and wonder about what if this, what if that, when really, in my view, you should be so pleased with with where you are now and how far you've come.
Okay, how would you connect with other siblings of with other people who have had autistic siblings? What would you say to them if they were in the room? How would you think you would relate to them, if you follow my drift?
I think I do. I can't think that I actually know, or I probably do, but don't know that I do. Siblings of folks that have Asperger's or autistic. I honestly don't know how to answer that question, because whilst we are talking about Asperger's here, Alan, we're talking about individual people as well, aren't we? So it's very difficult to probably answer that question, actually.
All right. Okay, but how would you describe the relationship now?
I think we have a very solid relationship. We don't live in each other's pockets, as I already mentioned. We live very different lives and we've got different personalities. And however, I think we complement each other. I think we've always had um, a relationship whereby we support each other and we appreciate each other. Um, and when we do get to spend time with each other, we have a good a good time and we enjoy it. Um, yeah, supportive I think is probably the best way of putting that. We enjoy each other's company. We have our ups and downs. We are different people. We correct each other sometimes on things that we don't think we need to correct each other on, but um, I think overall, Alan, we're still very close, and again, that's been a sort of theme throughout our entire lives.
Okay, Yvonne. Last question. Do you anticipate this getting easier or getting harder as we get older? Our parents leave us, and we, find ourselves dealing with the infirmities of age. I mean, I know it's just a speculative question, but how do you see a relationship kind of evolving? Will it get harder or will it get easier?
I don't know, and that is a speculative question, but it's something that has crossed my mind a number of times. As we get older, and touch wood, our parents are still going to be around for quite some time to come. But yeah, what happens when it's just the two of us? And that I don't know. I don't know. I think it will be hard regardless, because we're talking about a time that means that we're going to have to go through pretty difficult things as a family to get to that point. Um, but again, I think given where we've been and given where we are now, I genuinely believe that we'll always have a basis of, you know, good friendship as well as sibling foodship, whatever that word is. So yeah, that kind of went round the houses a little bit, but I think we'll be okay.
All right, Yvonne. Okay, I'm going to leave it for now. This is my sister, Yvonne English, uh, talking on Alan English Asperger Syndrome tutorial, a sibling's perspective. Okay, thank you very much, Yvonne. Okay, see you around, everyone.